Picture this. You're standing in the checkout line at the grocery store on a Tuesday night. Milk, eggs, bread, some chicken, a couple of things for the kids' lunches. Nothing fancy, nothing you could even call a splurge. The screen flashes your total, and your stomach does that little drop. It's been doing a lot lately. And then, right there under the total, a friendly little button appears. 4 easy payments, no interest. Tap here. And honestly, it doesn't feel like borrowing money. It feels like a coupon. It feels like the store is doing you a favor. So you tap it. The groceries go in the trunk, the first payment comes out, and you drive home feeling like you just outsmarted the system. Here's the thing. You didn't outsmart anything, you just took out a loan for food. Food that will be completely gone before you're done paying for it. And you are not alone, not even close. Americans ran roughly $70 billion through buy now, pay later services in a single year. $70 billion. And the fastest growing thing people are financing isn't sneakers, and it isn't game consoles. It's groceries. 29% of buy now, pay later users have now paid for groceries in installments. 2 years ago, that number was 14%. It has more than doubled. Something big is happening in American kitchens, and almost nobody is calling it what it is. Welcome back to Affluence Theory, where we dig into the psychology and the simple math behind money and figure out why our brains keep working against our wallets. If you're new here, we do this every week, so hit subscribe and tap the like button so this video reaches somebody who's got 4 payment plans running on last month's dinner. Because today we're breaking down the loan that doesn't feel like a loan, why your brain falls for it, what the math actually says, and how to get out before it quietly eats your paycheck. So let's start with the reframe, because the words matter here. When you hear the word debt, you picture credit cards. You picture student loans, car payments, a mortgage, big, heavy, official things with interest rates and statements. Buy now, pay later doesn't feel like it belongs in that family. There's no card, there's no bank. There's just a cheerful app with a pastel logo splitting your total into 4 bite-sized pieces. But strip away the branding and look at the skeleton underneath. Money you don't have, spent today, owed on a schedule, with penalties if you miss. That's a loan. That is the definition of a loan. The industry just figured out how to build one that slides right past every alarm bell your brain has. I've started calling it invisible debt, and researchers have a name for it too, because most of these loans never even show up on your credit report. They're real, you owe them, they can wreck your month, and on paper it's like they don't exist. Now, why does your brain fall for this? This is the part I find fascinating, honestly, because it's not stupidity, it's wiring. Your brain feels the pain of paying. Scientists have literally watched it happen. Handing over money activates some of the same regions that process actual physical discomfort. The pain is a feature, not a bug. It's the little pinch that makes you stop and ask, do I really need this? Buy now, pay later is engineered to remove the pinch. $180 hurts. 4 payments of $45? Your brain barely registers it. Same money, same groceries, a quarter of the pain. And when you take away the pain of paying, you don't just buy the same stuff more comfortably. You buy more stuff. 68% of these users admit the loans cause them to overspend. That's not a side effect. That is the business model, and the on-ramp is greased. There's no hard credit check for the classic pay in 4 loan. No awkward phone call, no waiting period, no one in a suit deciding if you qualify. A couple of taps and you're approved, usually in seconds. When researchers asked people why they choose these loans, the top answers weren't about saving money at all. 31% said they're easy to use. 27% said they're easy to get. You know what came in dead last? The fact that they're interest-free. Only 11% picked that. Read those numbers again, because they tell you everything. People aren't choosing this product because it's cheap. They're choosing it because it's frictionless. And in personal finance, friction is usually the only thing standing between you and a decision your future self will hate. You've heard me talk about the boulder before. Building wealth is pushing a boulder up a hill. Every dollar you save, every debt you clear, that's one more step up the slope. It's slow, and it's sweaty, and some days you barely move. But here's what makes invisible debt so dangerous. It doesn't shove your boulder backward all at once, the way a big emergency does. It's more like someone quietly tilting the whole hill a few degrees steeper while you're not looking. Each little payment plan seems weightless on its own. $45 here, $30 there, $22.50 on a Friday. But stack enough of them and suddenly you're pushing uphill against a slope you can't even see, wondering why you're so tired, wondering why the boulder won't move. There's one more piece of wiring working against you, and it's the sneakiest one: optimism about future you. When people take out one of these loans, they're not really deciding whether they can afford it today. They're betting that the version of themselves 6 weeks from now will have the money, and then nothing will go wrong in between. No car trouble, no sick kid, no short paycheck. When researchers asked people considering these loans how confident they were about paying without a single miss, only 59% said very confident. Think about that. 4 out of 10 people are tapping the button while already carrying doubt. Your brain is a wonderful storyteller, and the story it loves most is that next month will be easier than this month. It almost never is, and it's all being normalized at incredible speed. Nearly half of Americans, 47%, have used one of these services at least once. In a typical month, around 4 in 10 say they're at least considering a new loan. 13% of users have financed their rent this way, and most renters say they'd at least consider splitting rent into installments if the option showed up. When everyone around you is splitting everything into 4, the whole idea stops registering as borrowing. It just becomes how you pay. That's exactly how a debt cycle hides in plain sight, not behind anyone's back, but right in front of everyone, wearing pastel colors. Okay? Deep breath, let's do the math, because the mechanics are where this thing shows its teeth. The classic version works like this. You pay 25% of the purchase at checkout. The remaining 3 payments hit every 2 weeks, so the whole loan clears in 6 weeks. On one loan, that's genuinely manageable. The average purchase is only about $135, so each slice is under $35. This is exactly why the trap works. Any single loan looks harmless, but almost nobody stops at one. 63% of users have juggled multiple loans at the same time, and 1 in 4 has had 3 or more running at once. Now do what the app hopes you never do, and zoom out to a full month. 3 loans, staggered starts, payments every 2 weeks each. That's 6, 8, 10 separate withdrawals, all hitting a checking account that's also handling rent, gas, insurance, and everything else. None of them feels big. Together, they've turned your month into a minefield. And here's the detail that gets people. Those payments run on the app's calendar, not yours. Payday might be the 1st and the 15th. The withdrawals don't care. They land whenever the 2-week clock says so, and most of them auto-draft straight from your checking account. So the question stops being, can I afford this grocery run, and becomes, will there happen to be enough money in the account at 6 a.m. on a random Thursday? Miss, and things stack fast. 47% of users paid late in the past year. 2 years ago, that was 34%. The average late fee is small, around $10. And that smallness is sneaky, because a $10 fee on a $35 payment is a brutal cost for borrowing pocket change for a few weeks. And if the account is empty when the draft hits, your bank may pile an overdraft fee on top. Now your no-interest loan costs more than a credit card would have, which brings us to the comparison everybody skips. A credit card charges interest, commonly somewhere between 18 and 30%, and that's genuinely expensive. That's the villain we all know. But the credit card at least walks in the front door wearing a name tag that says debt. You get one statement, one balance, one number that tells you the truth about your month. Invisible debt gives you no number. It's scattered across 2 or 3 apps, a dozen due dates, a running total that exists nowhere except in the withdrawals hitting your account. And because most of it never touches your credit report, even the people whose job is measuring debt can't fully see it. Regulators found that in recent years, nearly half of these loans went to borrowers with the lowest credit scores, deep subprime, the folks with the least room for error. The system handed the most fragile budgets in America a form of borrowing that's nearly impossible to track. What did we think was going to happen? So what does this mean for you practically? First, understand what financing groceries actually signals. Food is not a want, it's the most basic need there is. If the budget can't cover food without a loan, the budget has a structural hole, and no payment plan patches a structural hole. It just moves the hole 2 weeks into the future, where it's a little bigger. 54% of these users say they couldn't make ends meet without buy now, pay later. Among parents with young kids, it's 62%. Honestly, that number should be a national headline. More than half the people using this product say they need it to survive the month. That's not a shopping tool anymore. That's a paycheck-to-paycheck life support machine, and it charges fees. Second, notice the emotional tell. 54% of users say they've regretted a purchase they financed this way. Regret is data. Regret is your future self sending you a message that the pain of paying showed up late, after the money was already gone. And there's something uniquely deflating about the grocery version. The food is eaten, the leftovers are gone, and the loan is still there, taking bites out of 2 more paychecks. You're paying for a past you can't even taste anymore. That feeling, paying for something that no longer exists, is the exact opposite of building wealth, which is paying now for a future that doesn't exist yet. Now the mistakes, because if you're already in this cycle, I need you to dodge the traps that keep people stuck. Mistake number 1 is stacking. 1 loan is a tool. 3 loans is a juggling act, and the data says the juggling is where people start dropping things. Before you tap that button again, ask one question. How many of these do I already have running? If you can't answer instantly, that's your answer. Mistake number 2 is trusting autopay with an empty account. Autodraft plus a thin checking balance is how a $10 fee becomes a $35 overdraft, becomes a missed rent payment. If you're carrying these loans, write every due date on one calendar the same way you track any other bill, because that's what they are. Mistake number 3 is financing things that disappear. A couch you'll sit on for 5 years, fine, reasonable people can debate that. Groceries, takeout, gas. If the thing will be gone before the loan is, that's the clearest no in all of personal finance. And mistake number 4 is the quiet one, using payment plans as your emergency fund. The plan feels like a cushion, but a cushion made of debt isn't a cushion. It's a trapdoor with a pillow on top. If you take one action from this video, make it this. Tonight, open every one of these apps you've ever used and count what's actually running. Write down every loan, every remaining payment, every date. Add it up into one single number. That number is the truth. It might sting. Good. That sting is the pain of paying finally showing up to do its job. The alarm bell the apps work so hard to silence. You can't fight a boulder you refuse to look at. And here's the hopeful part, because there really is one. This kind of debt dies fast when you starve it. These loans clear in 6 weeks. 6 weeks of no new taps, and the withdrawals just stop. Not years, like a credit card you're grinding down forever. Weeks. Freeze the apps, let the clock run out, and use that calendar you just made to watch the finish line get closer. Then take the money that was leaking out in $20 and $30 bites and aim it at one small buffer, even $500, sitting boring and unspent in a savings account. That buffer becomes your paying for button. Run the numbers on it. The average one of these loans is about $135, which means a $500 buffer can absorb the average grocery emergency more than 3 times over before it's empty. And unlike the apps, it refills on your schedule from your own paychecks, with no clock ticking against you. Same rescue, except it's interest-free forever, it never overdrafts you, and nobody profits off your tight week. The app sold you flexibility. A buffer is flexibility you actually own. That's the moment the hill tilts back in your favor. Every payment plan that expires unrenewed is weight off the boulder. The pushing gets easier, then it gets almost light, and then one day, momentum starts working for you instead of against you. So let's go back to that checkout line, because you'll be standing in it again this week. Same store, same Tuesday. The screen flashes the total, and that friendly little button offers to slice it into 4 painless pieces. But this time, you see the machinery behind it. You feel the pinch, and you know the pinch is your friend. Maybe a few things go back on the shelf. Maybe the total's a little smaller, and honestly, that's okay. Because you pay once, and it's done. You walk out with a cart full of food that is completely 100% yours. No clock, no drafts, nothing following you home. That's not just groceries. That's what it feels like when the boulder starts to roll your way. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.